me make sure that you can see me. Hi. I'm so sorry. I'm like 7 or 8 minutes late. Another camera issue. I just honestly cannot believe it. So, well, we're not going to waste any time on that. I hope you guys are doing well. I see some of you are already in the chat. Hello, Junior. Hope you're doing well as well. Thank you for that. Hi, Fairy Girl. Hope you're doing okay. And TNT, glad to see you here. So those of you who follow my channel, you know that I've been talking a lot about families lately. I've been talking more specifically about narcissism, and I really try my hardest not to discuss the topics that you can easily find on YouTube. That's not what I want to do. I always want to come from a place of newness and freshness to where, if that's a word, to where you can get the information from me that you're not going to get anywhere else. Basically, the information that you're not going to get unless you go to a therapy session. So I really try to shy away from those common topics. But the topic of narcissism is quite a big one. And there's many areas and many pockets where we can kind of explore and illuminate some information. So in tonight's brief live video, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about narcissism. Now, I want to give you some tips on how to manage these kind of family members. We're not going to say parents so much, but just family in general. While I look at this, let me make sure. I'm going to try one more thing, guys, before I jump into the material. I want to make sure that the rest of you are not in the other chat or live, because I had to switch live. So let me just do one thing. Hopefully there's not I don't want two lives going at the same time. Let's see here. Okay, so let me tell them I'm over at the new chat. I had to migrate to the new chat. I am going to delete this one so you can see the correct one. Okay, so let me delete the old chat, and then I'm going to welcome them on the other one. Okay, I think we're all set now. Hopefully they can find us. So, dealing with narcissistic family, it's one of the most stressful things. And one of the reasons why is because you never really feel, what's the word? Like you need to protect yourself against your own family. Hi, Hugh. I see you. Welcome. Glad to have you. You don't feel like you need to protect yourself against your family. Usually, hi, Cherry's Jubilee. Usually we approach our family in a way that shows that we want to trust them, we want to be loved, we want to love them, we never want to be defensive, or feel the need to be defensive. But when you have a narcissistic family, a narcissistic parent, it's really easy to get defensive, and it's really easy to say, you know what, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to close the door. So in tonight's chat, I'm going to give you some tips on how to manage the communication between you and that narcissistic family member, that narcissistic parent. And also, let me just say that this is traumatizing. So my specialty is trauma-informed psychotherapy. And having a narcissistic family, a narcissistic parent can really be traumatizing. It is not easy to deal with this. And it really causes you to kind of second guess yourself. Am I the one who's unstable? Am I the one who said that wrong thing? Am I that one who won't forgive? It's always me, as opposed to, it's actually you. And that's because narcissism, it causes you to second guess and look at yourself, unfortunately. Hello, Dragon Man, Sasson, glad to have you. Hello, God's daughter, glad to have you as well. Oh my goodness, Black girls getting their shift together. Okay, welcome. I see what you're saying. Hearts to you, God's daughter. Thank you so much. Love you in return. So I'm gonna get to what one of the commenters has posted, because I think a lot of us can kind of relate to this, but I want to jump into the material briefly with the goal of wrapping up before 10 p.m. Eastern time. So there are 4 different kinds of communication, and you guys should know about this because a narcissist will utilize all 4 of these types of communications. One is passive aggressive communication, which is basically, I'm going to slam doors, I'm going to walk around and huff and puff, I'm going to act like I don't, feel angry in your face, but behind the scene, I'm going to bang on things and slam things and huff and puff so you can hear it. And I'm going to refuse to call you or text you, or I'm going to refuse to email you. I'm going to be vague and ambiguous. I'm not going to be clear and understood. I'm going to do everything in my power to make you think it's you so that I don't have to be on the line. And so that is passive aggressive communication. That is the narcissist's most potent weapon, because they know how to draw you in with their hidden anger and that seething, fiery anger underneath the surface, and cause you to wonder if it's you. And that's how they win. They get you stuck in your own head, and then you don't have to think about them, and you're not going to think about them because you're too stuck in your own mind and questioning yourself. I'm going to get some water, guys. It's been a long day. And so I'm like jumping on here trying to get into deep conversation, and I can hardly swallow. So let me get some water. Oh, no. Okay. So that's passive aggressive. We also have passive communication, and that is, I'm not going to express my feelings. I'm going to stay closed up. I'm going to stay behind the scene, and I'm not going to say what you probably want me to say, or I'm not going to say what needs to be said. I'm going to hold it inside. There's a mental health condition known as selective mutism, and a lot of you may not have heard of that, but basically the idea behind selective mutism is you select those times when you're going to be silent, and that could be a moment of high intensity of anxiety, anger, stress. That might be the time that you select to be silent or to be mute. There is also selective hearing. And this can play a role in your communication with the narcissist as well. Selective hearing, I'm going to hear what I want to hear. I'm not going to hear what's being said. I'm going to hear what I want to hear. And a lot of narcissists engage in selective hearing. They're going to hear what they want to hear. And sometimes, instead of gaslighting you, they're going to kind of select the moments when they're not going to talk. We call that stonewalling. And really, it's putting up that defense and that brick wall so you can't get through. So passive communication. The next is assertive communication. And that's the most healthiest style. That's the healthiest style, I should say, of communication. And that's when you say, okay, I'm laying out all the cards on the table. You hurt me. I don't like what you said the other day. You haven't been the most supportive mother, father, cousin, brother, sister, whoever, and it hurts me. That's assertive communication. You're saying, here's what hurts me. Here's what the issue is. Let's talk about it. That's assertive. Then you also have aggressive communication, and that's when you're slamming doors, you're yelling and screaming, you're utilizing intimidation tactics, you're bullying, you may even corner somebody, either, what's the word I'm looking for? Either literally, or you're cornering them emotionally and psychologically, and they can't get out, right? A narcissist will do that. They'll somehow put you in the middle of two possible scenarios, and they'll use it against you. So let's say you're having trouble in your relationship with your mom. That narcissistic brother may go to your mom and say something about you behind your back, and then come back to you and be really sweet and lovey-dovey and cause you to kind of divulge information or give information so he can then take it back to your mom. That's really triangulating, right? That's putting you in a triangle and kind of keeping you stuck there. That's aggressive behavior. You're aggressively and intentionally trying to do something to hurt me. And then lastly, there's manipulative behavior. There's manipulative communication, I should say. And that's when you're just communicating to create some chaos. And you're doing it in a way that's going to keep that other person, who is often the victim, beneath you. It's a condescending, controlling way that narcissists try to communicate, and it's horrible. So let me go over these one more time before I go to the chat section and come back to the material. Passive aggressive, okay? Passive aggressive is there's something in the middle of the room. There's a zebra, a lion, there's an elephant in the middle of the room, and I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to let this drive you crazy, even though we need to talk about it. Passive aggressive. Then you have passive. I'm not going to say anything because I can't. I don't feel confident. So I'm just going to go around and be silent and act like nothing's happening. Assertive, you're telling the person this is what you've done and I don't like it. You're doing it in a respectful way. And the manipulative, you're trying to create a triangle and cause trouble. So these are the four kinds of communication styles that a narcissist will utilize. Let me go to the chat box and get to these awesome comments. You guys are chatting away and I want to make sure that I answer you. Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together says, I have a narc father. It is horrible. Yeah, absolutely. I think dads being narcissists are the worst. Moms are too, but I think dads are worse because dads usually are the calm, level-headed, laid back people in the family. And when you don't have that, it can almost feel like the rug has been snatched out from under you. I think we all kind of look for our fathers to be that peaceful place that we run to when we need support and love and protection and security. And when a dad is a narcissist, he's not thinking about your security. He wants what he wants for him. He wants what he wants for him. It's sad. Hi, A. Garcia. Glad you are here as well. Welcome to the chat. Hello, Sean Hammer. I see you. Welcome to the chat. Black Girls Getting Their Shit Together says, my father is emotionally stunted and his adult tantrums are toxic behavior. Absolutely. Now, let me just highlight this just a little bit. Narcissists, as I talk about all the time, when they are parents, when they are family members, they know you well. They know the buttons that they need to push to get you upset. They know what they need to say, what they need to do. And so most of the time they will push those right buttons because they know you well. They're your family member. They're your father. They're your mother. So they know how to push your buttons and they know how to get you to respond to them. So that they can then act out and then everyone looks at them as the victim, if that makes sense. So let's say, for example, your father is angry with you and you're not giving him the fight that he wants. Well, he makes it look like he wants to call you on the phone and make peace with you and be a wonderful daughter and a father, have that wonderful relationship. Let's say he's done that. Well, as you talk and maybe you're getting close to forgiving each other, he says that one thing that pushes your button, you blow up and get upset. And now he can sit there and look like the angel because he's not going to get upset with you. He's just going to kind of coddle you a little bit, maybe condescend, try to manipulate your emotions. And then he may run off and talk about you and create all this toxicity in your family and in your life. That is an example of a narcissistic parent. They do those kind of things. They know what to do to push your buttons, and then they step back and let you explode. And sometimes that's really bad. I had a client like that 3 weeks ago, and she dealt with a mother like this, and it was horrible. It was horrible. It's horrible. Cherry's Jubilee. I don't know who you're talking to. I'm guessing I'm like lost in the translation. I'm so sorry because you often have really good comments. So I'm so sorry. Okay, Sun Kissed by Dark Skin Hype. Okay, I'm gonna mess that up. Sun Kissed. I'm gonna call you that. Hello, welcome to the chat. I see you. Yeah, Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together says selective hearing. They do it all the time. Narcissists. It's what they do. Kevin, the Oculus, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you. He says, I remember my father telling me after I drew a really good picture that I am the only artist in this family. And really, he was a brilliant artist. I never drew again. Oh my goodness. So I'm guessing for you, Kevin, this was like a little bit of like sarcasm, I'm guessing, right? That the way he said it made you feel like I'm not as good as him, maybe, perhaps, question mark, I don't know. But I think if that were me, I would probably take that as a slight, or I would probably see it as, you're not really saying I'm the best artist in the family. I'm kind of taking that in a negative way. I'm really sorry to hear that. I think that was a little bit harsh. And that is definitely a narcissistic comment. Cherry's Jubilee says, I was told to give up on things because I wasn't any good. They were the things she wanted me to be good at, I think. So she's saying, I was told to give up on things because I wasn't any good. And I'm guessing the parent wanted you to pursue things that they're good at. Cherry's Jubilee, tell me if I'm wrong. That is a typical narcissistic parent. Have you guys ever watched Dance Moms? I totally hate that show, and I feel so bad for the kids that I don't watch it. But in the past, my brother's girlfriend watches Dance Moms, and it's like, I just couldn't do it. I hate it. I think it's horrible for kids. It's the parent trying to live through the kid, Cherry's Jubilee. And I think that's kind of where you're coming from, that your mom was trying to live through you or tell you to be good at things that she was good at or put you in certain things that she was good at. It's kind of like that Dance Moms mentality. It's horrible. Kevin, I'm glad your daughter's a brilliant artist. Both of my brothers are brilliant artists. My brother, my older brother, he's 10 years older than me. He is like phenomenal. And my younger brother is even more phenomenal. One is more of like a sketcher. He kind of outlines things, and the other one's a cartoonist. And I'm like, why didn't I get the blood, the genes? Like, I'm horrible. I can't even draw a stick figure. It's horrible. Okay, so Sean Hammer says the public shaming during this pandemic has cost me what was left of my family. I just don't see a way back. I was basically told to not express myself or stay away. I'm 55 years old. That's horrible. It sounds to me as if there's a lot of negative dynamics, Sean, in your family, and COVID just kind of illuminated them. COVID illuminated a lot of issues in families in my practice and even in my colleagues' practice, even in my own family, extended family. And, I'm still just kind of like, oh my God, what did COVID do? Because I'm still getting the consequences of COVID at my front door knocking. Can we schedule an appointment? Can we come in? I need a session. Can I do a consultation? Can I see you? And it's all because of COVID. It was bad enough life was hard before COVID, and now life mixed with COVID plus ugly politics plus mass shootings and everything else in the world. It's like maybe there is a revelation period coming up, or the end of the world, because something's wrong. All right, guys, so let me give you some tips on how to manage narcissistic family members, and then we're going to head towards wrapping up by 9:45, maybe a little sooner. The first thing that I think you need to do to communicate with a narcissistic family member, a parent, is to engage in what's called active collaboration. Active collaboration. Here's what it is. You are not trying to fix a problem on your own in your family. You're getting that other person to help you fix the issue. There are many ways to do that. I'm going to go through some of that as we go along. With the narcissistic family member or parent, however, it may seem difficult, if not impossible, to get them on the same page with you. But I think the best way to get them working in unison with you or being collaborative is to find what buttons on them works. I'm sure you've seen those movies where there's a person with psychosis, or they are I can't even say my own word tonight, guys, sociopathic, or they are psychopathic. In order to escape that scene of being held hostage, or in order to escape a bad situation that sociopath has put you in, you almost have to go with the flow. You almost have to find their weakness. You almost have to search for a way to get on their level so that they won't hurt you, so you can escape. That's kind of what I mean by active collaboration. You have to figure out, and this can take a long time, you have to figure out what makes this person tick, right? If I had to look at everything on a tabletop and choose what buttons I think would get this person working with me, what would that be? So you want to figure out, what is that one thing that can get us on the same page? That may seem impossible, but that's one way to deal with a narcissistic parent or a family member. The next is you want to assess their readiness for change. There's no sense in trying to communicate better with a narcissistic family or parent if you don't know if they're willing to change, because they're going to constantly do the same thing over and over that hurts you. So it's best to figure out what is their level of readiness here. If I had to plot this on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being they're absolutely going to change, where would I put them on that scale? Are they a 2? Are they a 3? Because if so, this is not going to work. So there's no use in me trying to make this work. If you feel like they're more at an 8, a 9, a 10, where they are willing to work with you and engage in healthy communication, that's wonderful. Then move forward. But you want to be able to, again, engage in active collaboration with them if you can. Secondly, you want to be able to assess for readiness for change. And third, use active listening. Sometimes with a narcissistic person or family, a parent, it's best if you stay behind the line and just don't comment. You may have to completely silence out. Let them talk, let them get their feelings out, let them get their thoughts out, whatever they need to do, slam doors, get an attitude, stonewall you, gaslight you, let them do it all and remain as calm and separate from that as you can. That's a good fighting weapon with narcissistic parents and narcissistic family members. Sometimes you just need to step back and let them go. And then when they are done, then maybe you can assert yourself and talk and engage. Other than that, other than that, I would step back and just let them act out. In the end, they're either going to do one of two things. They're either going to get even more mad because you've won, because you've maintained the power and the control, or two, they're gonna calm down when they get you acting out, if you know what I mean. So the best thing to do in a situation with a narcissist is step back, let them communicate, and just listen. Active listening. Intentionally listen to what they are saying to you. I would even reflect back. This is the fourth suggestion. Reflect back to them what they're saying to you so they can hear how it sounds. You don't want to switch the words up. You want to reflect back to them exactly what they said. And there may be incidents, and I don't want to encourage this, but there may be incidents where you may have to record the encounter so that you can say, you know what, you said A, B, and C, and then hit the play button and let them hear because they're going to deny it. So that's the suggestion there. Before I continue on, I want to go ahead and look at what you guys are seeing. God's daughter says, my mom always tells me to call the police on my older brother. Give me some background on that, God's daughter. Tell me what you think of that. Do you think mom's trying to like enlist stronger people to deal with your brother? Or do you feel like she's narcissistic and there's something going on there? So let me know what you think. Sunkissed by Dark Skin says, both of my parents are malignant narcissists. That is a really hard one. When you have a father who's a narcissist and you have a mom who's a narcissist, which sometimes they do attract each other, that is really bad because they're going to trigger each other in some way. You know, dad is going to say something or do something that's going to trigger your mom to say or do something. And it's almost like dynamite. You're lighting dynamite when you have both parents like that. I just hope you are okay having two parents like that. Some kids like get by the skin of their teeth, as they say, and other kids, they break down. They end up going to the hospital. They end up feeling suicidal and depressed and anxious. And they also end up having post-traumatic stress disorder. So if you got through that untouched, that's a wonderful thing. I think that's a blessing. Sean says, I now want to stay away, but they act like nothing happened. Sometimes, Sean, narcissistic family or parents will act like nothing happened as a way to kind of erase it. And that is a very toxic and unhealthy form of communication because you're not addressing what is clearly the elephant in the room. And in a way, you're being selfish, right? You're asking the person that you've hurt to just get over it because it doesn't exist. And you're refusing to look at yourself that way. Because when we apologize or we talk about things or we examine things, we're really taking responsibility. And so for narcissists, they don't like to do that. So to act like nothing happened, that's their MO, modus operandi. That's how they act. Cherry's Jubilee says, cutting mine off was so freeing. Sometimes you do have to cut off family members who are unhealthy and narcissistic. I say all the time on this channel that I love family. I think it's beautiful. I think it's wonderful. And I think family is very empowering when it's healthy, but when it's not, run, because they are the closest to you. They know what weapons to use to get to you. And for the most part, they're going to hurt you the most because, again, we as a society, we don't ever think to be defensive against our family members. That's just not something that's normal in our culture. Okay, so Katie Dowie, I see you. Welcome to the chat. Fairy Girl says, another thing is if they are not as emotionally charged as you are, by the trauma, they act out on you so they can't or won't get stuck in rumination over it or any other emotional struggle we carry. I'm gonna pull from that fairies girl, because I'm not clear on that. What you might be saying is that the narcissistic parent or family member, they don't want to get kind of pulled into your emotional storm, and they don't want to have to experience what rumination. Correct me if I'm wrong. Rumination, guys, is basically this mindset where you're thinking of something over and over again, without being able to pump the brakes. So I think what you're saying is that the narcissistic family member or parent doesn't want to get involved in your emotions or those constant thought patterns. And so therefore they act like nothing ever happened. I think that's what I'm getting from you, fairy girl. Black Girls Getting Their Shift says, you described them spot on. Mm-hmm. God's daughter says, but what if they start attacking your children and threatening you? Um, I mean, I like what CP says. Welcome to the chat, CP. This person says, move away. I did. It isn't easy, but much more peaceful. And I very much agree. If you start getting family members who are narcissistic and parents who are narcissistic, threaten you and attack you and really create this storm of chaos around you, walk away. There is absolutely no rule that says you have to be connected to unhealthy, dysfunctional, toxic family members. There's no rule. The only thing that's holding you to your unhealthy family members is a societal and cultural belief system, and that needs to be broken up because it's not always the truth, you know. And I think you guys are seeing that just with your experiences alone. Okay, so let me continue giving you guys tips on how to manage the narcissistic family member or parent. I think another way to kind of manage communication is to go with what you're feeling on the inside. Anytime I communicate with a narcissist, and I'll share a story with you, a brief one in a minute here, I feel a certain way. I feel a certain way. And when I feel humiliated, or I feel scoffed at, or I feel manipulated, controlled, I know then and there something is wrong with the other person. This is not a self esteem issue. This is not previous trauma being reenacted. This is not previous trauma being triggered. This is not that I just don't like this person. This is an intuitive signal that something is wrong in our communication. So, listen to your body, listen to your heart, listen to how you are responding or feeling in return with that person. I had an experience recently. I posted it on my stories this week where I had someone call in to talk to me. They wanted an appointment. And this was last week sometime. They wanted an appointment. I was so happy to give it to them. But then I heard some manipulation as I'm listening to the story. And I'm like, I don't think I'm the right professional on the case for this. Let me give you somebody who's a little bit more experienced with the details. And this person kept begging me not to send them somewhere else. They even told me they'd pay me out of pocket. And I'm like, I mean, I really appreciate that. And I would love to help you. But ethically, I cannot provide care to you if I don't meet that standard. I'm, A, B, and C. Here's my professional, skills. Let me give you to somebody that I really trust who can help you with all those confusing dynamics. This person was not grateful at all. Okay. This was a narcissistic parent. And I mean, she blew up. My intern was in the room with me. She's yelling, she's screaming, she's cursing, she's, trying to assert that she's being treated incorrectly. I mean, it was just horrible. And all I said and my intern said was, we are not able to take clients weekly, number one. And secondly, we're not able to deal with this kind of intricate set of details. So let us give you someone who can help you. No. Her narcissistic arrogance said, I want what I want. And if I don't get what I want, or if I don't hear that you're going to give me what I want, I'm going to blow up on you, bully you, get upset, and hope that you back down and say, okay, I'll schedule you, which I'm not going to do that. I know a narcissist when I see one. And so I said, okay, we're done here, So narcissistic individuals, they blow up, they get angry, they throw things. It's that aggression I talked about at the beginning. saying, that aggressive communication. That's their MO, their modus operandi. I'll put it that way. And unfortunately, we're often taken off guard because narcissists can come across as kind until you flip that switch and you don't give them what they want, or you don't sound the way they want you to sound, or you don't hop on their side of things, or you're not easily manipulated. That gets them every time. So go with what's going on in here, because I knew that phone call wasn't going to go well, and I could feel it in here, and I knew I was going to have to step in. It was horrible. I think another way to kind of manage the narcissist is heal yourself first. If you have these open wounds, you're not going to be able to communicate with the narcissist because they're going to press your buttons. They're going to test you. They're going to try you. And if you have these open wounds, they're going to hit that open wound, and then you're going to explode or get upset or something like that. So heal those wounds first. And I talk about that a lot on my channel. I'm going to talk about it in an upcoming video, guys. So stay tuned for that. Heal yourself first. Don't demand engagement with the narcissist. Let's say the narcissistic family member or parent refuses to talk to you. Don't call them and say, why won't you talk to me? We need to talk. Don't engage them that way. Sometimes that's bait, and they want you to, kind of latch onto that, and they're going to pull you in and roll you in a way that's not healthy. So don't force engagement. I would just wait until things calm, and then try to communicate assertively, not passive aggressively, not aggressively, not manipulative. How should I say this? Not in a manipulative way, but be assertive. And or you can choose not to talk to them at all. That's okay too. I like what CP says. They said move away. Don't even deal with it. Enforce your boundary. Enforce your boundary. If you have a narcissistic parent or family member who's trying to push you and nudge you and really get you upset and stonewall you and refuse to talk to you, and they're manipulating, just enforce your boundary. You're not going to call me and argue for 25 minutes on my phone. You're not going to humiliate me. You're not going to come to my job and want to talk to me over lunch. You're not going to do A, B, and C. Enforce the boundary. Narcissists hate boundaries because they can't do their regular hocus pocus insanity, right? They can't wrap you around in their in their coils, if you will. So put your boundaries up. I think that's the best way to heal yourself. Role play. That's another suggestion. Kind of go over what you're going to say before you say it. If you still have to communicate with this narcissist. Sorry guys, it is storming outside. If you heard that thunder. But role play. It's okay to kind of go over what you're going to say to them, kind of role play with a friend, write it down, whatever you need to do, get it inside, and then communicate with that narcissist. And lastly, for the suggestions here on communicating with the narcissist, don't communicate at all. You don't have to. So if you have a narcissistic parent, a narcissistic family member that has hurt you, they've run over you, they've manipulated you, whatever, and maybe you've given them chance after chance, just don't even engage. It's not even worth it. Walk away, and that is okay. It's acceptable. It really is. Let me go to the comments. Kevin says, thank you, Tamara. You're welcome, Kevin. Cherry's Jubilee says, I have to stop calling my mother. And I'm wondering if that's because she's just pushed her buttons. Cherry Jubilee, you're over it. Sun Kissed by Dark Skin says, I wrote a book on poetry in 2005, and my egg donor never heard her say anything about it. However, she bragged to others about her daughter. I never got it published. Well, I'm so sorry to hear that. Number one, that you didn't get it published, because perhaps it is publishable, so I'm hoping you get that opportunity one day. Narcissists are really good at praising you to other people so they can look good, but not saying anything to you because they don't want you to feel good. They don't want you to feel confident. Or maybe somewhere in her mind, she sees you at this level and not at this level. And so it's easier to kind of not say anything to you that minimizes you, and then pump you up to other people, because that pumps her up in the end. It makes her look good. I've experienced that in my family for sure. Black Girls Getting Their Shit Together says, my father's weapons of choice are triangulation and smear campaigns. Absolutely. Triangulation is a really good tactic. The narcissist becomes the victim. You become the persecutor, the one who's pointing the fingers, and somebody else becomes the rescuer, whether that's another family member, a coworker, a therapist, right? They become the rescuer, you're the persecutor, and they're the victim. That's like the narcissist's number one tool for sure. Sean Hammer says, I've come to terms with it now. It allowed me to see the real state of our relationship. Yeah, absolutely. And you're welcome, Sean. No problem. I think sometimes narcissists fail to realize that those of us who are not narcissistic, we're tracking you. So if you do something to hurt us, we're going to track that. And we might even store it away in the back of our subconscious. You keep doing the same thing over and over, it's going to teach me who you are. And it's going to teach me the state of our relationship, as you put it, Sean. That's why I said at the very beginning, you really want to assess, are they ready to change or are they not? Because it's going to tell you a lot about the healing process if you can figure out if they're willing to change. Kevin says, both my parents have passed on now, so I actively support all my awesome, successful kids moving on. That's wonderful. I'm sorry for your loss, Kevin. I hope that it wasn't something that kind of derailed you, because I know all too well how loss and death and grief can derail you. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise. I had a client say 2 or 3 weeks ago, something like, it was a blessing when my mom passed away because all she did was ever abuse me. And that's sad. I have a really good mom. I always see moms as angels. Naturally, but in my work, I really do assess, are they good? Are they bad? What kind of mother is this? So hopefully you didn't have a good mom that you lost and it was hard for you to get over. It sounds to me as if you're doing really good now, and so that's a good thing. Hugh McGregor says, what percentage of the population are malignant narcissists? Oh man, that's such a good question. And I wish I had the answer. I don't. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to post an article in the description box after this chat to kind of give you that information. Hugh McGregor, I think it's a wonderful question. Here's where the field kind of fails us. We have research on narcissists, but we don't have specific research on specific narcissists. Overt narcissism, covert narcissism, malignant narcissists. We don't have that individual research to be able to say, okay, here's 50% of the population that's a malignant narcissist. We need to get better at that, but I'll go ahead and post an article for you and for the rest of you that may be helpful. That was a fantastic question. John Park, hello. Glad to see you. Eyes off the tiger. Nice. Get it published. Yes. Thank you for that encouragement. Cherry's Jubilee, are you asking me what social media can you contact me on, or are you asking somebody else? I'm not sure. I will tell you, I'm on Twitter. I have a really pitiful Instagram because I do nothing on there. I could care less. My brother's kind of like trying to put things on my Instagram. I just find Instagram very disengaging. I don't like it. Twitter, YouTube, of course, my website, anchoredinKnowledge.com. You can follow me wherever on there. But I don't know if you're asking me, Cherry's Jubilee. So I digress. Yes, go, Kevin. I agree, Sean. Fairy Girl says radical acceptance, realistic expectation is good sometimes. Easier said, right? It is. Radical acceptance is kind of accepting that thing that's really hard to accept. And, you're not allowing roadblocks to get in the way. That's what Fairy Girl is saying. And realistic expectations is a healthy way to manage the narcissist for sure. Dragon Man Sasson. Okay, he says, or she says, I avoid social media. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Ricardo Rodriguez, nice to see you on here. TN, welcome to the chat. TBMC Nation, welcome. They say gaslighting can be really brutal. Yes, it can, because again, it causes you to go inside and second guess your own sanity. I remember when I was a new therapist, I had just graduated. And the next day I started an internship where I was working with really experienced therapists. And I had one therapist that was unfortunately envious and somehow jealous of me as a baby therapist. I don't know why, but something was off in that relationship. And she tried everything she could to derail me. And when I finally caught on that her behavior was out of jealousy towards me, I began to kind of backtrack, because I was second guessing myself a lot as a baby. I was like, 23, 24 at the time. And I remember going home talking to my mom saying, I don't understand. Like, she just literally told me she's jealous of me in the women's bathroom and then slammed the door and left. Like, I don't understand. And my mom tried to talk me through it and tried to help me get through it. And I just started second guessing myself. It was really brutal. I started asking, like, am I cocky? Am I flaunting? And it was none of that. Did I say the wrong thing? I couldn't really talk about myself without having that voice on the inside that she wasn't interested. So gaslighting can seep inside, you know? So, from a personal and a professional side of all of this, I can relate. And it can really, really drive you up the wall because you're constantly wondering, is it me or is it you? And even though you know it's them, somehow you still think it's you. That's the painful piece. All right, guys, I could literally talk to you all night. I love your conversation. I really have to go. I'm gonna say though, because we're at 10:02 p.m. Eastern time, I will mention John Park's post. He says, and I'll go back to a few of you and then we'll go. John says, I can spot a narcissist a mile away now from personal experience through my intuition. I can pick up on their dark energies and intentions. Absolutely, me too. I think once you deal with the narcissist, John, over and over and over, it's easy to just spot them. They're all pretty similar. It's just figuring out how, what am I trying to say here? It's figuring out how they execute their crazy behavior. I'm gonna change that word crazy. It's figuring out how they're going to execute their unstable behavior. I'll put it that way. That's more appropriate. How does this narcissist deal with human beings versus that narcissist over there? Because while they all can kind of mimic each other, they execute their behavior in different ways. So it's figuring out how they operate. But I agree. All right. So, oh, very nice, Cherries Jubilee. She moved from California to PA. Welcome. I don't know why. PA is so boring. It's so boring. Kevin says, I left my family at 17, now 56 and thriving. That's fantastic. That means that you were sucked into a lot of toxicity. And when you got out, that was the key to survival. Nabel C, welcome. The comment here is, you said that you give therapy to children. Would that be helpful if the parents are the issue since kids get traumatized by their parents? That's a fantastic question. So I treat children, teens, families, as well as adults who are dealing with trauma. I say that at the beginning of my videos all the time, just to clarify that it's not just kids, teens, and families, but it's adults dealing with trauma as well, or adults who are dealing with poor family dynamics. Yes, I think so. I'll answer it this way. Yes and no. That's an awesome question because here's what happens. A kid comes into therapy to see me, a child, an adolescent. I end up observing the parent is the issue, or the child tells me the parent's the issue. And the only kind of therapy that I can give that child, and this is the hardest part of all, is coping skills to manage their own emotions. I can give them knowledge in a childlike fashion of who that parent is and how that parent functions. I'm certainly not going to tell that child, you've got a narcissistic mother, that's for sure. I'm going to say something like, okay, so mom does things this way. Let's figure out what it is that mom wants and let's do it that way. So, I put it in kids' language. And also, too, for teenagers, my therapy is get out as fast as you can, but do it in a wise way. So I kind of coach and I kind of support that way. Um, so yes, therapy can be helpful for kids that have unhealthy parents, dysfunctional, narcissistic parents, but it can also not be, because sometimes the parent will minimize the child or condescend or harm the child right in therapy, and that creates friction between me and that parent, because I'm gonna correct that parent, and they're not gonna like it because they're narcissistic, and so there's no point to therapy at that point. And again, a narcissist doesn't think there's a problem, so we're not going to get anywhere. So that's a yes and a no answer. That was a fantastic question. Hi, Bill Sims. I see you. Welcome to the chat. He says, I see that explosive personality type every month for 20 years in various places. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Bill says, today I can cut narcissists off in a minute. There are many. I have gone no contact for decades. I feel free at last. Yes. Good for you, Bill. I've been there personally and professionally. It's freeing. Hi, Kim. Welcome to the chat. Kim says, I left my mom's house today. I come home drained. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Um, and again, that's kind of like that trap of having a parent that's unhealthy, you know? And it's really hard to get away from it, especially when you live with that parent. You guys are absolutely wonderful. I see you, Noku, NZ. Hello. I try to skim and make sure I get all of you. Hi, Jacob. Thank you for coming. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll check. I'll check in with my intern because she's the one who checks my consultation emails. So I will get back to her, Jacob. If I don't get back to you guys, like if you contact me and I don't get back to you right away, just know that you're literally on this pad. I swear. It's just I'm so busy. I can't get right back to you. But I really do try. Hi, Anna. Nice to have you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Hi, Ink Veins. Thank you so much. I'm glad I'm dope. I love that. I'm so not hip. I'm so glad I'm dope. I love it. Thank you. All right, guys, I love seeing you. I'm so glad with how you guys support each other. That's a wonderful blessing. I'm going to sign off, drive home. I will see you in the next video. We're going to talk a little bit more about this, so stay tuned. Have a good night, guys. Yes, Black girls getting their shift together. Feel free to contact me. Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you. I will. I promise. Bye, Anna. Thank you. Bye, John. Have a good night, guys.